we're gonna do now, in this class we're talking about implants, and you do mainly up to now you did everything by hand. But not many labs today are using analog method of fabricating different restoration based on dental implant. Majority of them, they rely on CAD/CAM. Okay, so we have the software, we have the scanner, we have everything we need. So the same project that you guys doing, custom abutment number 9 and number 11, we're gonna do it analog and CAD/CAM, also the bridge. So what I'm gonna show you now is just how we set up the order, and this is very important. Now, to talk a little bit about the system, so what we have. The one system that we're gonna use for our purposes is gonna be a tree shape. Okay. Do you guys know what kind of implant system are you using in this class? Hmm? Good. So we're using Rement for the anterior, okay? And we're using Rement, let me write it down so you guys can. And the idea of why I'm asking you this and why you should know, because when you're gonna go for a job interview, you can tell them, you know, I work with this system. And if they say, oh, you took the implant class, okay, what type of implant you use, what company? And they'll be like, I don't know, whatever they give me. So when you're knowledgeable and you tell them, oh, I use this system and this system, you look more informed, more, you know, up to date. So for the anterior, we're using Rement. Okay, and it is on level. Okay, and regular crossfit. What's that supposed to mean? That means that the implant is not placed above the bone. So it's placed, the platform of the implant, it's placed exactly at the level of the bone. The second, regular crossfit. Remember when we talk in lectures, in the lecture, and we said that the implants can be classified by the size. So we have narrow, and we have regular or standard, and we have wide. So this is a regular or a standard size, okay? So for posterior, and here what we're gonna do, we're gonna have cement retain. Restorations, right? So we're gonna have custom abutments, number 9 and 11, and then we have provisional bridge for number 9, 10, 11. Okay. For the posterior, we're using Nobel. I don't know how to write this one. Okay. Replace select. Regular platform. This is also called a three-lobe system, because if you look at the design, the inside design of the implant, it has 3 notches, and if you look at the tie base has 3 prongs that they lock in into the implant itself. Okay, so again, we're using a different implant company, Nobel, which is one of the largest, and they were the initial ones that they started with this screw-like implant, okay? And we're using replace select regular platform. Now, if you look at the parts that you use in your class, right? You see they come in different color. So this one, it's purple. And this one is yellow. So each company has color coordinated. Why? Because the whole kit, the whole product that goes into a kit, for instance, if I go into Nobel Replace Select, regular platform, right? Starting from the impression or transfer coping and finishing with the screw, Dutch screw, that is color coordinated. Okay, so they're all material there, yellow. Why? Because you know they coordinate. You're not gonna put a transfer coping that is maybe green with a yellow. The green may be narrow, okay? So it's for a narrow implant. So it's color coordinated, so it's easy for you to identify the parts that you needed, okay? Each company has their own color. So even though we are using standard or regular implants from both companies, each of them, they have their own color, okay? So when we start doing the custom abutments for our anterior, remember we've been talking in the lecture, how we want the design for anterior custom abutments, what they should resemble, what they should look like. Crickets, crickets. Think about if a doctor prepares anterior to the central, how that preparation looks versus when they prepare a molar. I'm not good at drawing, so but I'll try my best. Which one is the anterior, which one is the posterior from those two?
One on the left is the anterior.
Okay. What's characteristic to this?
The height, I guess you would say.
The height and yeah, so they're long and narrow, okay? Versus the posteriors where they are short and wide. Why? Why do you think that is? Think about how the natural teeth are.
Shape of the teeth, right?
Right? Okay. So I'm asking you these questions to make a correlation how your custom abutments should look. So when we design the custom abutment for the anteriors, how they should look, the ones that you're gonna do. It's an anterior custom abutment. So how they should look.
It should look long and narrow.
Long and narrow, perfect. Another thing that's very important in dental implants, especially when we're talking about a bridge, right? And we've been talking this in lectures, how the implants should be in relation to each other. Parallel, very good. So the implants should be parallel with each other. And also, another important thing when we design an abutment are the walls of the abutment, okay? So let's say if I have, these are my preparations, and I have a 3-unit bridge. So here I have a convict. Here I have an implant, another implant here. By the way, can I make a bridge and put an implant and a prepared tooth, natural tooth, and make a bridge on them? Your opinion, yes or no? No. Why? what the patient loses when they extracted a tooth, besides bone and besides some tissue, what else it's missing? What keeps the tooth in place? And the natural teeth, they have a little movement, right? What allows that movement? The ligaments, periodontal ligaments. So when a patient loses the natural tooth, that periodontal ligament is gone. So we cannot have an implant and a tooth, natural prep, linked together, because the natural tooth, the root, it has a little movement. The implant, it's very, very stable in there. It doesn't have that movement, okay? And that puts stress not only on the restoration, but also on the bone and even on the implant. So the rule is never to design, if you have a case like this, let's say, and this would be a natural tooth, I will do a single restoration here and maybe a 2-unit bridge here, something like this, okay? Or maybe I would put an implant here and do single here, okay? So there are different way of, treatment, and that's the doctor who decides. But I want you to understand also from the clinical side, if a doctor comes and say to you, oh, I want to do a bridge, implant a natural tooth, you can advise it and say, I don't know if it's a good idea, think about it because of the movement of the natural tooth versus, implant. So when we design our bridge, we're gonna start with what's called custom abutment, right? And the custom abutment is gonna fit over what?
Prepared.
What little piece of implant component you have that it's gonna make the connection between the implant body and the crown or the restoration itself?
What did you guys screw down?
Titanium base, okay? Which is also, that's why I said it's confusing, because the same piece has different name. It also can be called prefabricated abutment and a lot of other names. Most of the people in the industry using the name of Ti base, which is short for titanium base, but also can be made of zirconia, so don't forget that. So without further ado, I'm gonna show you how to set up the order, and also I'm gonna show you, I already did an order for you on the computer, so you can start working when you have time on that one. Now, a little bit of briefing about the CAD/CAM. So in the lab settings, right, you're gonna need a powerful computer, you're gonna need a scanner and the software, right? We are using a desktop scanner. You can use also intraoral scanner. For my liking, for implant, especially for complicated cases, I do not like to use intraoral scanners because they're accurate to a certain extent, but the way we move and take the impression, sometimes it doesn't collect all the data that we need. This scanner, even though it's an older version, has 3 cameras inside, and it's going to move the model and take multiple hundreds of thousands of little pictures, and at the end the software is going to put all together to create that image that we're going to work with, okay? So for this to work, we need that. Did you put the dongle in?
Yeah, it's in the back.
Okay, so we need that, what's called the dongle, which is the license, okay? The license is what you buy. Like, think about when you buy your phone, right? You pay monthly and you pay your fees and whatever you have to pay, right? If you don't pay, what's gonna happen? It turns up, right? So you can't use it anymore. So the same with this. The dongle is your license. As long as you pay your license, you'll be good to go. Also, when you buy the software, you have options to buy certain modules. Reshape is very good because they have a lot of modules for crown and bridge, for implant, from implant planning, for complete dentures, or partials, for appliances, all that fun stuff. So it's up to you if you are in charge of buying a license to make sure you buy what you need, okay? And that's about it. So come closer and we're gonna start working on it. So to start in order, you go here, okay? Everybody can see it's like looks like paper, okay? So you click on this and it opens the order form. Now, very important to place the patient's name, okay, and also the prescription. All right, so if you have a physical paper, the prescription, whatever the doctor wrote in that prescription, you transfer it in here, okay? If, let's say, you design this, but you want to send this to another lab or another manufacturer to fabricate your restoration, then you can go in here and you can click where do you want to be sent. And here you build up that library. It's like a address book. So we don't have it because we're not gonna send that out, but you build up that address book, and if you want to send it, let's say I'll send it to Argent, I should have the information here. I'll click on it, I'll select Argent, and it's gonna go in there, okay? Also make sure that here everything looks normal, so to speak. So let's say you had a case, you did a case, and your custom abutments, you send it out, and they came back to you, and they fractured, or they have a little, crack in it, or something's not right. Then you can go in here and say, you can change it to complaint, and once you change it to complaint, you can resend the order as a complaint, and you're gonna say, hey, it came out defective, so they can redo it without charging you, okay? Then we'll go on this side. What we're gonna scan? Well, we're gonna scan a model, but also we can scan an impression or a digital impression. What's a digital impression?
Is it when they scan inside the patient's brain?
Yeah, the intraoral scan, okay? So, but we're gonna scan a model. The antagonist, meaning the opposing arch, right? So we're gonna use, and you have options. Are we gonna use just the bite, or are we gonna use the model? So we're gonna use the model. And here, let's say I have a wax up done, from my diagnostic model. I can add here to, have another scan added to my order, but we don't have that, okay? So now I'm ready to select what we do, okay, what we need to do. So we're gonna do number 9 and number 11. They're gonna be abutments, okay? And very important, the same like I said here, you select your manufacturer. The same here, you select the system that you work with. So because we work in Rement, I asked Rement to give me a link to download their library. So the library it's put in here. Now, if you look at it, we have other libraries too, okay? But for our purposes, we're just gonna use Rement. And at the kit section, it's gonna ask you, it's gonna tell you, it's pre-selected, but you can change it. So what we have selected here, it's white base. Well, we don't have white base. We are working with regular base. So we're gonna open here, and we're gonna look for RC, which is regular cross fit, okay? Now in here, you can group them together, okay? What grouping mean? Meaning that I tell the software that those two implants, they're gonna be used for a bridge. So they have to be parallel. So the software I give the instructions, and the software is not going to allow me when I'm doing the design to design it to not be parallel. So it's going to control that, okay? So I can create a group, and it's going to call it group 1. Let's say I have multiple implants, and I want these 2 implants to be linked together for parallelism, and then I have implants here. So I can do group 2, group 3, whatever it's necessary. So I selected the abutments. So those 2, they're gonna be abutments. What else do we gonna need to do for this case? What you doing by hand? So we're gonna do the bridge, okay? So I'm selecting all 3 teeth that they're gonna be made for a bridge, and then I'm gonna link them together, okay? If I don't put this, the software is going to say, oh, okay, you want 3 individual crowns. So we have to link them together to create a bridge. You can select what type of connections. So think about when you do the wax up, how you do the wax up between each, unit. You want it stronger, you want it thinner, you can design that. But, I'll leave it the way it is, and usually it works really well. Another important thing is to tell the software that this is actually a Pontic, okay? So I'm gonna select this one, and the green icon is for Pontic. So now, everything that you put in there, it tells you here, okay? So we want crowns, we want Pontics, we want abutments, and it's gonna be a bridge. The next step is to do a scanning. So first of all, you turn on the scanner. Make sure the scanner sometimes it needs to be calibrated. I calibrated it last week, so hopefully it will work. And then we're gonna insert the model with the scan flags. So I'm gonna pass this along, and you guys are gonna see and feel what's a scan flag. So a scan flag, it's a piece of an implant component that it's only for the digital, component. And it's, if you look at it and you see, it has like a little cut on the side, right? And that's typically for this type of implant. Bone level, Straumann, regular CrossFit. Okay, if I use Straumann wide, that might be a different design on my scan flag. Now, scan flags, they're typically called this for when we're talking about a structure that can be identified by the software. But let's say I have a denture, and on a denture, I can put a scan flag. Where I gonna put a scan flag? The scan flag goes straight into the replica in your model. So for dentures and for large dental area where the tissue can be identified as a landmark, we use what's called a fiduciary marker, which are like exactly the same purpose, like a scan flag, but for tissue. So we put it on, let's say, the palate, and it's going to identify the area where we want to concentrate on, especially in implant planning. So if you hear the names, scan flag, now you know what it is. If you hear the name of fiduciary marker, you know what it is, okay? So I'm going to use my scan flags. And you see the materials that I'm made of, they're not shiny, they're not made of metal. Why? Because when we're gonna start scanning, right, if the object that we scan, it's very shiny, it's gonna be very hard for the camera to capture all the details, okay? So that's why on my model, I'm gonna use a little bit of, this is baby powder. And what I use it for is just to make my area that I want to scan a little dull, not so shiny. Now there are sprays, the companies, they make different sprays and even powders that you can use. They're kind of expensive. I've been using baby powder for a long time, it works. So, and then I'm gonna insert my scan flags. So the recommendations from Rement, and each company, each system is different. They want to place us to place the scan flags with that little cut either on the mesial or the distal, not on the lingual or facial or bulk. Okay, so make sure you put that scan flag in the right position. Okay. And also very important, press on it until you feel like it's all the way down. Now, the same screws that you're using for tie base, even though these are coming with screws, but are the same screws that you use it for the tie base, so you can screw it in, okay? So, we are ready to scan. So, I'm gonna use this table, and those tables are made, this is kind of like a hard lap poly, and these are made to hold the models while we scan it. So I'm just going to press it in, and hopefully will stay in during the scanning. So I'm going to click scan. So my order is set up and I'm ready to move on. So. Okay. So right away now, that software, it's one part. This is a different, it's part of that software, but it's a little bit different, okay? So I'm gonna put my model in and let the scanner do the work. So the scanner now starts to create that image like we said. It depends on the computer that you use. It could be a little faster or a little slower. So because our computer it's a little bit older and not so powerful, it's going to take a little bit of time. In general, you want a computer that it's good to, like a graphic computer that can hold a lot of data with the graphics, exactly what we're doing now. So if you do this every day, you want to invest in a computer that it's, you know, more powerful, like a gaming computer. So the computer generated my model. Now if you look at it and you're like, okay, you told me that this scanner has 3 cameras. What is this? This doesn't look good, right? You didn't see the details. And this is for the scanner. It does just like first, just like a basic scan. So now I'm concentrating and I'm gonna use this green area to highlight the area that I wanted to have it more detailed. So it's gonna rescan it, okay? Let's say I don't like something. I put it, let's say I put here too much. I don't want it scanned, right? I can go back to the minus. I can make this circle bigger, or I can make the circle smaller. And I can remove the things that I don't need in my scan. Too many things are not good either, because it's too much data and it's hard for the software to process, okay? So you just want to cover what's the area of importance in your, for designing your case. Okay. So let's say I don't want to have this area very detailed. I can just do it this way, and that's it, okay? So you choose. So I'm just gonna let the software, and now it's gonna take a little bit of time, and you can see here, you always look down here and you see the progress, okay? So until you see that circle stopping, you don't do anything. Just let the software do its work, okay? Abutments by hand, right? Especially for a bridge. You know how hard it is to make them parallel, right? And you know, you can use a surveyor to do it. And that's a step that you shouldn't miss. Nobody should miss that step, right? But designing here, it's pretty easy because the software does that step for you, okay? So you're gonna see when you do the design. So another thing is, let's say you did the scan and the scan is not very accurate, or for whatever reason I don't like it. I can rescan it. I don't have to go back to the order. Once this done, it's gonna appear a little computer screen here, like a little icon. You see, this is for scanning. Okay. Let's say I realize that the way I put the order is not correct. I can go back to the order by clicking here and modify the order. All right. But for me, and always check here. So every step you do, you should have, if the step is done correctly, next to this window here, you should have like a green check mark. That means everything looks good. Okay. So you look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, she has so many holes in it, right? Because we have holes exactly where we need it, but that's okay. We're not done yet with the scanning. So the next thing is, see, it asked me to align the scan flag 9 and the scan flag 11. What it means to align? Well, I have a physical scan body, but also I have a digital scan body, and if you see, they're matching. So this is how I know I selected the correct implant system, because the scan body, the digital one and the one that we just scanned, they matched, okay? So I'm gonna try to align them. Number 9. So I choose one point on, I don't like this. So if you don't like something, you can always put it in the trash and redo it, okay? So I'm gonna do it again till I found that they match perfectly or close to perfect. Say, I don't like this either. Let me try to do it. You can choose 1 point of reference or 3. We can do with 3 points of reference, which in a case where it's a little bit more complicated, like it gives me a little bit of a hard time now, I can use that, okay? And make sure you place those dots in the same, kind of like in the same position on both scan flags. Okay, I don't like that either.
So when you align them and you get it correctly, it will tell you got it correctly?
Yeah, it's gonna show you, eventually I'll get it. So it's gonna show that both of them, you're gonna see the grayish, this one with that one connecting. For some reason it didn't connect. Let's try this one first and then we'll move back to, maybe that's gonna work a little better. You see? This is correct. You see, you can see both coming together. And even though the dots are not one on top of the other, I can make them.
Okay.
Okay? So again, that was good. The way it was good, but I can make it better.
See how it looks like it's marbleized?
Yeah. So let's try again with scan flag number 9. Let's see if we have any luck. Yeah, okay, so this works. If you have a problem where you try and you try and you try with 1 point of reference or 3 points of reference and you see you're getting nowhere, there are 2 reasons. One, it might be the scan flag that it's wrong, or second, you might need to rescan it and change the position of the scan flag. Okay? So I'm gonna move to the next step. The software is gonna tell you what you're doing.
You see the little check mark there now?
Yeah. But again, it looks like this one didn't do it. Okay, well we did. So now it's gonna ask me to scan the jaw with gingival mask. What that means, I have to remove my scan flag because the software now needs to see the gum, how the gum is it around the implant. And I'm gonna use again a little bit of this powder because you saw the holes inside in the scanning. So I'm gonna try to make it a little bit dull so the scanner can read the camera. Okay. Now I'm just gonna place it into the scanner and let the scanner do its work. There is another desktop scanner for a newer version of this that has more cameras and they work faster. So if you have a lab and you know you want something that's more productive, you can talk to the tree shape and say, hey, listen, I'm gonna trade you this for, you know, a better scan. So again, I have the same first scan, the initial scan, which is not very accurate, okay? And now the computer is gonna ask me, okay, what do you want to do? You like this? And I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna want to have more accurate scan, and I'm highlighting the areas where I want the scan to be a little more accurate, okay? When we're talking about implants, especially when we're talking about the gingiva, we want to make sure that this area is covered where you have the implants, okay? So I'm gonna click OK. Like I said, if you have a more powerful computer, this step would be a little bit faster. And imagine we have a very simple case, but if you have to do a full mouth rehabilitation and be using a computer that it's not so powerful, first of all, some of the data may get lost because the software cannot handle, you know, processing so much information. And second of all, it's going to be very, very slow. Okay, now it looks better, right? Now we can see that actually I don't have any holes in it. The gum looks pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna go to the next step. Now, if I'm not happy, what I'll do?
You scan.
Rescan. So I'll go in here and rescan it, okay? But I'm happy with it. So I'll move next, and it tells me, okay, now, because we set up in the order that we're gonna use an opposing, we have to scan the opposing. So I'm doing the same. I'm taking the lower, and I'll put it back into this plate. And make sure that it's stable in the plate, so when the scanner moves, it doesn't fall off, okay? Another thing, with this system, with the 3 shape, especially with the scanner, when we arrange the model into the scanner, right? We have it on the plate, right? We don't want the model to be with the teeth out or on the side. So they recommended that the model should be placed like this with the teeth facing inwards, okay? So you learn about each company, each system, they have their own way of doing things. So you have to be familiar with the system before you start using it, okay? If I try to scan it this way, it's gonna scan it. It's not gonna be a problem. But when I'm gonna start doing, putting to do the bite, or it's not gonna work out, okay? So.
This is usually the longest part of the work in the laboratory. After you have this done, usually there's a full-time person just doing the scanning. And then you go on to the design, and everything gets imported into the design, and then the design person usually does the designing, and they're pretty fast at it. That's why the better your scanner, the better your computer, the more time you save.
So that looks good, right? Oh, I have an option to trim. So let's say I want to trim this model, okay? Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't know why it doesn't do it. I can trim, let's say here. Okay, and it cuts off that. But I don't want to trim it. I don't want to spend any time on this.
So we can just leave it how it is?
Yeah, there are certain, like for instance, if I will have to print the model, I will trim it.
Okay.
Okay? Because it's too much information here, too much data, and we don't need that. So I will trim it, make it nice and flat, and it will be nice. But since I'm not printing this, now, the next step is the bite, right? So we have to put the upper and lower together. And then there is no fancy way to do it. So you can use like sticky wax to put them together, or you can use the glue gun. I like to use a rubber band. Most of the time the technicians they use this. If we selected a bite, right, we can use also the bites in here. So that would be another scan. When I tie that up with the rubber band, I want to make sure that I don't put too much pressure on the anterior and lift it from the back. So I'm always looking at the back teeth to touch, and it looks to me that it's pretty accurate the way it's put together, okay? The trickiest part now comes with putting this here. So this model is pretty heavy, right? Now, I said before, if we want to scan each model, the teeth are going facing the scanner, the inside of the scanner. Now, when we do the bite, the scanner is not gonna read it this way, so we have to put it like this on the side, okay? So, let's try, give it a try. But sometimes it's tricky. It might fall off from the scanner, and we have to restart again. So, we'll try. Yep. And you know, the rubber band doesn't make it any easier either. Sometimes what I do, if I have like a little bit of the soft lap body, I use that to help me anchor it. Let's give it a try. See what we get. And look at it, it's like a mumbo jumbo in there, and you're thinking about it, what the hell you just did, okay? But this might work, and I'll show you how. So this is the scan that we have. The most important thing is to have some landmarks from the upper model and the lower model. Now you see we have here, align the lower arch manually, align the upper arch manually. So we're gonna click on each of them and align them, okay? So I'm gonna pick a point. You remember how we aligned the scan flags, right? So this is what the software asked me now. We have the digital model. Now we're gonna align the digital bite, the digital articulation, arch by arch. So I'm gonna pick up a point again on both models. And when you see like it's marble like this, we're good to go, okay? Now I'm gonna align the lower. So again, I'm gonna look for a landmark, and we're gonna give it a try. So let's say I'm using this, and I'll find it here. Let's see if it works. It works. Again, you see those points that are a little bit further? I can leave it like this, it's not a big deal, but I can also bring them a little bit closer. Okay, so that looks a little better. So now I'll click next. Okay, for some reason it didn't show me this is correct. Hold on, let's see. Okay, now it's correct. So I can take my model from the scanner, I look at it how I have it here, and I can compare with my scanner. The back teeth are touching, that's important, right? And everything else looks good. So the last step is what it says to inspect or to kind of exactly what I did now. I turn it around and I look to see if everything is correct. If we skip the step, it's not gonna save your order, okay? So always, even if you know it's good, you just don't have to look at it. Just put your cursor there, move it a little bit, it's fine. You're gonna move it on. So you see all my little steps here are, yeah, good to go. And now it's gonna send me into the design mode, okay? So we can go into the design. Okay, so always check if the order is correct. Okay, so we have the pontic, we have the crowns, we have the bridge, everything looks good. Now this is to prepare the model, right? To prepare your work. So you see we have, this is the occlusal plane. So we want to make sure that the occlusal plane is in correct position. Why? Why is this important?
For the bite.
For the bite and for the articulation, right? So we want to make sure, let me see if I can bring this down a little bit. Okay. And make sure you're matching the teeth, right? This is not right. So we're gonna use those points to match. It's okay if you see that, you know, you have a little bit of the teeth coming through the occlusal plane, that's fine, okay? It's not gonna be always very accurate and fitted correctly over all the teeth, like here, but sometimes, you know, the jaw in the back could be a little more wider, open, or narrower. The most important thing is to match where your restoration is. So here it looks good to me. Okay. Now again, prepare. So if I want to cut this, if I'm doing the you know, model, I can go ahead and prepare. Let's say I have a bubble in my model. I can go ahead and add material to close that bubble, okay? Or remove or add. This is my lower, so this is still in the preparation mode. Okay? Now, very important, it's gonna ask me to do annotation. So what it means that I have to pinpoint to the software where my preparations are. In our case, the implants, okay? So look what it says. It wants for me to pinpoint where the pontic is. So I'm gonna put the pontic. There it is, right there. Okay, now this is, I did it the wrong way. Okay, let's clear this up. For some reason, see? Clear. I don't know why is this here. Doesn't allow me. Okay. So let's do this. Please select the abutment 9. So you see that little flashing dot, right? You can move it anywhere you need it, okay? For our implant purposes, I always put it on the gum, not on the implant, okay? So, abutment number 9, we good. Now it says, please select crown pontic, okay? So, again, on the gum, okay? Please select abutment number 11. Again, I'm gonna put it on the gum, okay? So I selected correctly, make sure. Why is this step important? Because the next step you're gonna see is the path of insertion. So if you select something that it's wrong, it's not in the same position, You see those lines? So they kind of like straightforward, and they're kind of nice colors. If it's something wrong, these will be red. That means your pattern insertion is wrong. So this looks good. Now, on this side, I have my panel that I can control. So I have my model, okay? I have my opposing with the bite, okay? And I have my implant. Let me take this out so you can see. I'm gonna put it like this, okay? My tie base is in there. These are the screws, okay? So you have everything what you need in here to control your case. So what I like to use in my design, especially at the beginning, okay, I don't need the scan flaps, okay? So in the beginning, when I'm looking at the case, I kind of see how the implants are placed. This one, it's a little bit lingual. This one might be okay, but I'm not sure. So I'm gonna bring the opposing, okay? And I'm gonna use, remember how you, I don't know if you guys using that little long purple screw when you do the wax up on the anterior?
Yeah, we didn't have those. We had the, we
Okay.
just used the burr.
Oh, okay. So it's the same idea. This, it's gonna show you the implant position and the implant angulation, okay? So when you start doing the design, you know exactly, see, I can look here and I see that my implant is not only that it's a little bit too far lingual, but it's tilted towards the posterior side. This one looks a little bit better, all right? So you have all these tools here to help you. Also, we should have, oh, but it's not open yet, okay. So I established that I have what I need, and then it's time for me to move on. The path of the insertion is good. Now, the computer generates, when I give an order, the computer generates a design, okay? It's not perfect like you see, okay? So we can work on it. And again, look what happened here. Now we have more stuff added here, okay? So we have the bridge, we have this, you can move on. This is for when you do the design to see if your contacts are too tight or too big or too small. So I have this panel here of tools, right? And I can use any of these tools to help me with the design, okay? So
This for me. Just gotta close the door.
this, it tells you here, multiple teeth tool. So this, it helps me move this anytime I want, any way I want, okay? I can use this tool, which I like better. Okay. And I can make it wider. And you have to rotate your model to move those points where you need it to be moved, okay? So, they're not perfect, okay? You can make it wider, okay? You can make it, yeah. I'll do this so you guys see the difference, okay? So, you can angulate it the way you want to, rotate it, okay, to fit. And you bring it here, okay? Move a little more. Yeah, you see, I don't like the way they look. First of all, this one is rotated. This one is not in complete alignment, okay? So, but they're all linked together. So it's very hard to modify the design. Then we go like single tooth. So now I'm in single tooth mode, and look, it's gonna allow me to use the software just to modify my single tooth restoration, design. I can rotate it, I can bring it up, I can bring it down. The same with this one, I can rotate it, I can bring it up a little bit, I can make it a little bit wider. Okay, the same with this. So you can spend a little bit of time in this, Then you can modify it by surface. Okay, so if I click on that, see, I can modify by surface. So I can use that circle to be smaller if I want a smaller area, or you can always undo, okay? Or I can make this larger, okay? See? So I can drag this down a little bit to make it look like this too, okay? Same here, I can make it a little bit bigger, okay? Good. Then let's say I'm okay, everything looks good, but there are minor things that I want to change, right? So I can go to this little, it's kind of like your carver, right? And again, I have a circle that points out where the area that I'm working on, okay? Now I can make the circle bigger, or I can make it so when I work on it, right, it's bigger, or I can make it deeper, like, when you cut with your carver, right? So, or add it, okay? See? So I can make it smaller. Okay, so it barely does it, or I can make it bigger. Okay? I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay? So I have the plus sign, it's adding. The minus sign, it's subtracting. And the green is to smooth. Okay? Good. Now, it says here, sculpt on protected surfaces. And this is very important for the implant, because sometimes we have to be careful how we design the margin, right? So sometimes it might not let you do the design, so you have to go in there and modify it how it fits in here on the implant. So you can click sculpt on the protected surfaces, and it's going to allow you to see here. Let's say I want to add, it doesn't allow me. Or does it? Yeah, it does it. But you're gonna see later on that it's gonna be at a point where it's not gonna allow me to do it. Okay. So on the Pontic, I will make the Pontic of occlusion on the bite, but on the part that's touching the gum, I want it a little bit here. I want it to touch to be a little bit bigger on the side. Why? Because the patient doesn't have natural teeth here. So the gum in time, it's gonna shrink. So by having the Pontic kind of poaching a little bit on the gum, it creates that scalloping look that natural teeth have around the gum. So think about it like my hand here. If I take my knuckle and I push in, you see it creates a little, that, right? Scalloping. So that's what we want. So this is pre-designed. So I just did it kind of like, I don't know, I'm not spending no time on that. It's just then I can concentrate later on to do it. Now it comes into the designing of the custom abutments, okay? So you have, again, you have your system, and you have all your tools that you need to, okay? So you click on, and see, this software tells me right away, you are in violation. Your design, it's very thin somewhere, okay? And it shows you where. So if I click OK, and I turn it around, you see? So that means in some areas the software will allow you to pass by this. So you can say, okay, just leave it the way it is, I'll go with it, if it's not a major issue. So you can bypass this, but this is a major issue. And what it means, when we're gonna do the milling, because the material is gonna be too thin in that area, it's gonna break, okay? So we can use our tools and modify. So I can angle the implant. Again, it's gonna tell me every time there is a problem, it's gonna tell me, okay? And we have to address that problem, okay? So we're looking around. What we're looking at, especially on this one, if I put this in the center, what I'm looking for, if I do a screw retain on the anterior, it's very important to not have the hole on the facing, right? So this tool, it's helpful to see how we design with the screw channel, okay? So let's play with it a little bit. I can make my model a little bit smaller, and I can bring it a little bit this way, okay? And then we can make it higher, because we want it longer and shorter and narrower, right? Very important is the margin, right? So if we look at the margin, and also we want to look here at the lower part. Why is not showing me this? Okay, so we want this area to be nice and smooth. So I'm gonna put everything inside, okay? And if I see here, you see, it's a little bit bulky. So if I go into the sculpt, okay, now I can use this, make it a little bit smaller, and kind of correct this, okay? So you can spend a lot of time in designing, and this is what I want you guys to spend a little bit of time. It's very important to understand how to design. You do it by hand now with your models, and if you look at it, I keep clicking and nothing happens, right? Why? Because the software protects this area. So if I click sculpt, now it's going to allow me to do it. See it? It didn't allow me before. If I click this, it doesn't allow me to do anything, okay? And very important to check also. Put this in and look. Is this matching your tie base that you have? You can look at your physical tie base and see the same design that you have in here. It's matching your tie base. So that's what you know you're good. Very important when designing custom abutments, right? You see how nice this line, I wouldn't call it margin line, but this line, it's nice and crisp, right? If this margin, let's say, I'll add a little bit.
That is the interface between the tie base and the zirconia.
If this margin will be distorted here, like this, that would be a problem because the milling software will not be able to read this margin. That's why that margin has to be nice and crisp, okay? So, it looks good to me. So you can play with it a little more into the design, and that's what I want you guys to do, okay? I will bring it here, the lingual, I will bring it down a little more so you have the access hole in there, okay? So this one, okay, you can move it this way. I can move those points the way I want it. So you can spend a little bit of time in here. I still feel like this is a little too much lingual, okay? So I'll go back, okay? And I'll use this tool and angulate it more towards the lingual, okay? Then I can go in here and kind of smooth these corners. All right.
You see, we did the exact same thing by hand on those.
Yeah. So spend a little bit of time and redo it. I'm not gonna spend too much time. Once you're happy with this, you click next. It's gonna take you to the next abutment, and you're gonna do the same thing. There are area that I need to work on it because it's very thin, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. So whatever, once you have everything done and the software tells you you're good, you're gonna move to the abutment number 11, and then at the end is gonna bring all together with the bridge. And then once again you check everything should be flagged, checked, and then you save it, and that's what Professor Bala is gonna grade. If it will be a real case, once we design it, then we have to transfer it into either 3D printing if we're using the printer, or milling. And then we use for the milling, the nesting, and the milling strategies. Okay? So everybody has access to those computers. Okay?
You don't have to scan it in, or delete the scan.
No,
Let's rescan
that's
it.
why I came here to show you the scanning
It's just
and to setting up the order. The order, it's already set up in the computer. What I need you to do, so let's say I'm gonna close this. I'm not gonna say. So you're gonna find your order. You're gonna, there is an order with Professor Bala's name on it. So what you need to do, you click on it, right click on it, and go to modify. So I'm modifying my order. And you're gonna see here, I think I put Bala 2025. So leave that there, and then you're just gonna put your name in you know, here. So this way, every time, because these computers are all connected, so you're gonna see her order.
You see everybody's order?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay, so this way you can work on
Mess up Jesse's order.
yeah. Okay. I'm sorry guys, I came out busting this morning and I was like, let me give you a lesson on this, but I think it's important for you to know this. And you know, like I said, you're gonna do this if you do implants routinely, and this is just the beginning. What I show you is just very, very basic. So every technician that does dental implants today, they should be able to do this basic. Nothing more. So, any questions?